The second letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Beis. Beis has the sound or the phonic of B, like the letter B. But again, as we stated earlier on the letter Aleph, that the letters are simply a body in contrast to a soul. And the soul of each letter are the nekudos, are the dots and the vowels. So here too, the Beis could be ba. If it has a kamitz underneath it. If it has the vowel of the patach, it's ba. If it has the cholam, it's bo. If it has the shuruk, it's bu. If it has the chirik, it's bi. So it can change depending on the vowel. The graphic design of the Beis is 3 lines. 2 horizontal lines and 1 vertical line. And one of the reasons why the Beis is the first letter of the Torah, of the 5 books of Moses. The first letter of the book is a Beis. And the Medrash asks, why is it that the Torah, which is God's book, starts with the letter Beis and not with the letter Aleph? Aleph is the first letter of the Aleph Beis, but also the greatest letter, alluding to Aluf, alluding to God. And being that it's God's book, it should start with the letter Aleph. And one of the answers that is given is that if a person comes along and says, I am God, we are to tell him, are you God? If that is the case, complete the world. Because the world only has 2 or 3 sides. Let me explain. According to geologists, when you look at the earth, you will see that there are land masses to the east, west, and south. Even beneath the ice cap of the South Pole, one finds the continent of Antarctica. But beneath the frozen mass of the North Pole, there is nothing. The north is open. And so the open side of the letter Beis alludes to the north being opened. So if a person comes along and says, I am God, you say, are you God? If you are God, then you should be able to close the North Pole. So that is the graphic design of the letter Beis. There's a story told in the Talmud that King Ptolemy, who lived about, or was born rather, 283 before the Common Era, wanted a Greek translation of the Torah, which we call today the Septuagint. And what he did was he took 72 rabbis and he sequestered them in 72 different chambers. He did not tell them why he was putting them there. And then once they were there, he told them, I want you to translate the Torah into Greek. The fact that he separated them was to make sure that each would tell the truth. Because if they would hide something, they would only find this change or discrepancy in 1 or 2 of the commentaries or commentators. So he sequestered these 72 rabbis, and they all wrote the same exact thing. But they did make certain changes. One of the basic changes that they made was, instead of writing Bereshis bara Elikim, in the beginning created God, they wrote Elokim bara Bereshis. God created in the beginning. So the question now becomes stronger. If they were able to turn it around, to start the Torah with Elokim, with God, which is the letter Aleph, why couldn't God turn it around and start the Torah with the letter Aleph? And one of the answers that is given is that there are 2 parts to the Torah. The first part of Torah is knowing that God gave us the Torah. The second part of the Torah is understanding the Torah. Because Torah is not simply a book of intellect. The Torah is a godly book. And the purpose of studying Torah is to connect with God. To quote from Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, he says that the purpose of Torah study is to cleave and become one with God through the holiness of His Word, and thereby cause the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God, to dwell amongst mankind. So, number one is acknowledging God, and number two, understanding the Torah. And therefore, when a person studies the Torah, we start with the letter Beis, Bereshis. Because Aleph, the first thing is we know already that God gave us the Torah. And now we're trying to understand the Torah on an intellectual basis. This is true for a believer in God. This is true for a Jew who stood at Sinai and received the Torah. However, when we talk about King Ptolemy, who was an idolater, and in general people who are non-believers, the first most important thing is Aleph, is Elikim bara Bereshis, to know that God created Bereshis, that God created in the beginning. And once you acknowledge that there's a God, then you can move on with the letter Beis. So this is why the Torah begins with the letter Beis. The gematria of Beis is 2, number 2. Because when we look at creation, everything in creation was created as a pair. Heaven and earth, sun and moon, man and woman. Everything is created in twos, and only through twos can you multiply. In contrast to God, who is only one and unique. Furthermore, if we spell out the word Beis, Beis Yud Tov, which means Bayis, house, it equals 412. We know that the purpose of creation, why did God create the world in the first place? For God desired a dwelling place down here in this world. Now, 412, which is Bayis, is also the gematria of Tava, which is desire. God desired a dwelling place down here in this world. God wanted to live amongst mortals. And so He created the world. And we complete the world. We complete the fourth side of the Beis by doing the Torah and the mitzvahs, by following the laws that God has commanded us. And in general, the Beis hints to this concept because the Beis has 3 lines alluding to the teachings of Torah, the knowledge of Torah, and then the concept of prayer, and then the concept of good deeds, charity. So through study of Torah and through prayer and through charity, we're able to create the fourth wall, the fourth side, and build up the North Pole. Because in truth, it says in the Bible that mitzafayin tipasa hara, from the north came the evil. Evil is from the north. And therefore, by closing up the fourth side, we are bringing closure to the world. We are bringing an end to evil. And rather, we are bringing shalom, we are bringing peace to the world. And this is the meaning of the letter Beis.